What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. My name is Tech.
I'm Kojak.
And welcome to Critique the Critics, the show where we take a look at movie critics' reviews and audience reviews and then review them.
That's a lot of reviews.
Yeah. Which basically means we make fun of them.
Yeah.
Because usually they say stupid things. For example...
we are Inception.
Yeah.
But dumber.
Exactly. For example, one reviewer in Variety called Ghostbusters only intermittently impressive.
All right.
It's like every once in a while, it's like, nice. But other than that, this movie can screw off. We're going to take a look at audience reviews a little later on. We're going to give you some incredibly fake facts that we found. And by found, I mean wrote.
Fair.
Fair enough. But first, let's take a look at our critic that we are attacking today, our first review.
At least the first part of it, because we are not going to pay the New York Times.
Yeah, so this is actually from 1984. It's actually from 1983 because like December 31st, 1983.
Oh, yeah.
But basically, this is an archive. Oh, it says June 8th, 1984. There you go. This is an archive review from New York Times by Janet Maslin. They have it as like actually the page from the New York Times. And if you subscribe to them, you can see the entire page. But even though it starts like it's already started throughout the thing, it does make sense and we'll be able to pick it up where it starts.
It looks like it's missing the first maybe part of the paragraph.
Yeah, it's missing a very, very small amount, and everything will make sense as we go through because I already read it ahead of time.
Yeah.
So the first sentence will sound kind of weird because it's mid-sentence. The systematic pursuit and apprehension of any spooks, vapors, or phantasms to be found in the metropolitan area seem a perfect profession for Bill Murray.
That's just an honest sentence anyways.
Yes.
That does not make sense. That's just what Bill Murray should be doing.
I agree. It requires a cool head, which Mr. Murray most assuredly has, as well as the ability to remain unruffled by bizarre apparitions. The sight say of a fat green ghost in a hotel corridor gobbling the scraps off somebody's room service tray. This kind of work calls for the kind of sang-froid that coming from Mr. Murray amounts to. See, I hate that people are using words that no one cares about.
Maybe they did back in 1984.
Amounts to facetiousness of the highest order. So far, like I'm okay with that, but I know that this goes awry. Right. I read a little bit of it. At first,
I'm waiting to find out.
Because the biggest thing is that I've noticed with a lot of the reviews and a lot of the things I was looking at. First of all, it was really hard to find negative reviews, but anything I found negative about this, Bill Murray is great, and either he wasn't used well enough, or he was too campy and crappy for him. So we'll see what this one says. Ready and able as he is to take on the ordinary chores that come his way in Ghostbusters, like carrying around a sample of suspicious slime or investigating a haunted refrigerator, Mr. Murray also seems game for the full-fledged horror parody that Ghostbusters could have been.
Ooh.
Now we're getting
fighting
into it.
words.
Could have been. Also, I would like to say that this is not a horror parody. It is not parodying anything.
No.
It is a horror comedy, but it's not parodying anything. There's no parody involved here.
It's predicting the future.
So, I mean, I guess later on there were parodies, but that's not what happened here.
Right.
But however good an idea it may be, or may have been to unleash Mr. Murray in an Exorcist-like setting, this film is not an Exorcist-like setting, first of all. This film hasn't gotten very far past the idea stage. I mean, they finished it. So that's pretty far past it. Yeah. You know, you can watch it. Its jokes, characters, and storyline are as wispy as the ghosts themselves and a good deal less substantial. The ghosts, incidentally, are very winning, especially that hungry green one, who in one scene springs out of a street vendor's cart with a big smile and a mouthful of hot dogs. I have a feeling that, it's nice that, she likes Slimer, but it's not nice that she's just going to tell every scene that Slimer's in.
Right.
I feel like that's where that's going to go
as well.
I think so, too.
So far, she doesn't understand what this movie. It's like the people that I watched walk into Punch Drunk Love, thinking it was an Adam Sandler funny movie, and then being very disappointed when it's not.
Yeah,
and all you had to do was watch a 30-second trailer to know that it wasn't.
Well, just thinking that it's a parody, and likening it to
what?
To Exorcist.
They just said it was a parody and didn't explain who.
I mean, you can go Spaceballs is a parody, and it's very clear, right? But
in fact,
what
they
is
say
this?
it in the movie more or less.
Yeah, but what is this parodying? You know. The screenplay is by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis, who play Mr. Murray's partners in Parascience. Mr. Ramis plays the egghead type, and Mr. Aykroyd is more of a blank, since there's barely a role here for him at all.
What?
What are you talking about? That's not true.
Yeah, how about Dan Aykroyd writing himself out of the script?
Yeah, he just wrote himself out of the script. Dan Aykroyd has quite a bit of a role and quite a bit of a character in this. That doesn't make any sense at all. He's actually incredibly intelligent throughout. He's one of the experts. He's not, but he's not, displayed as an egghead per se. As for Mr. Murray, he is Dr. Peter Venkman, a psychologist specializing in psychic phenomena and women chasing, not necessarily in that order. When all three are booted out of Columbia University, they go into private practice, advertising on television and setting up shop at an abandoned Manhattan firehouse, since they like sliding down the pole. I can't tell if these are dirty jokes or not. One of the more charming things about this movie is the blithe assumption that there is more than enough weirdness afloat to warrant its television advertisements and to keep the Ghostbusters doing a brisk business. Why is that weird?
Yeah.
You can go on ghost tours. People talk about like how many movies involve ghosts? How many TV shows involve ghost hunting? How many documentaries, docuseries are about ghosts and apparitions? How much paranormal writings have there been? How many houses can you go to where they talk about all of the ghosts that are going to be in there? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if people were like, call now, we'll get rid of your ghosts. And you have a lot of business.
Three
people will at least give you business. 3. I mean, that's nonsense. You would get, even now, you would get a lot of business doing that.
Yeah.
How about that psychic lady that shows up on freaking Oprah and crap? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You're telling me that there's not enough psychic business out there? Not enough paranormal business? There's someone on freaking Oprah selling that shit.
And it's Dr. Oz.
Yeah. As long as the film retains its playfulness and keeps the stakes low, things are promising. But once the trail leads to the refrigerator of Dana Barrett,
what a weird way to write that.
Which contains a hellhound and a gleaming apocalyptic vision. Generally, you don't see this kind of behavior in a major appliance, Dr. Venkman observes. Thanks for ruining that joke. I mean, it's a good joke.
It's a good joke
during the movie.
You ruined it.
The film gets out of hand. Ivan Reitman, the director, subsequently has to contend with spectacles like a rooftop demonic shrine and a 100-foot marshmallow dressed in a sailor suit marching up Central Park West. Not surprisingly, with all this going on, there is more attention to special effects than to humor because it's not a comedy, it's a horror comedy. This is one of the things that annoys me about this movie.
Here we go.
It's annoying. It's annoying that everyone, just because comedic people are in it, thought that they wrote a straight-ahead comedy.
Right, no, they didn't.
And it is not a straight-ahead comedy. It is comedic, but it is also horror.
Yeah.
It is also a science fiction paranormal horror.
And Ash versus the Evil Dead.
Yes, which... That's the thing, is Evil Dead was initially written as a horror.
And then they gave up halfway through.
And then Evil Dead 2, by the time they made that, horror comedy.
Right.
And Evil Dead 2 is still both horror and comedy. Mm-hmm. There's things that are funny and things that are
but there's periods of time where there's not haha.
Yeah. And that's what people don't understand. And it's literally just because...
I could have said that more monotone where it's not haha.
Yeah. And it's literally just because they're seeing people from Saturday Night Live.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're like, Bill Murray, he's funny, right?
That's all he is.
That's all he does, right?
He only makes me laugh. He has nothing else to offer.
Nothing else. And Rick Moranis, he's funny, right? And in the movie, he's funny, he's quirky, he's weird.
Right.
And
Lost in Translation was a laugh a minute.
A laugh a minute, for sure. What's the flowers one? Broken Flowers.
Uh-huh.
Hilarious.
Oh, man.
Absolutely hilarious.
It had me chuckling the whole time.
There are also far too many loose ends in the screenplay, since a few of the supporting characters wind up having much to do with one another. Wind up not having much to do with one another, or having much to do with that was a weird sentence. Some, like William Atherton, is an environmental protection agency inspector who challenges the hero's means of ghost disposal, seems out of place in what's supposed to be a comic setting. Everything's a comic setting. Others, like Annie Potts, as the board secretary of the Ghostbusters, merely having nothing to do.
Because she's a board secretary.
Rick Moranis, who's certainly funnier here than in Streets of Fire. Oh my God.
Wow.
Makes a good first impression as the creep who lives down the hall from Dana and who watches her every move. But before that situation has a chance to take off, both characters find themselves in the throes of demonic possession. Yeah, because we only have about an hour and a half, mofucker. I mean, come on. What did you want to happen? The story is not about him being a creepy neighbor.
No.
That would have been called
the Cable Guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I want to see him in the Cable Guy remake,
or Seth Rogen in Creepy Neighbors.
Oh yeah,
Jesus. But before I think we can get her a guest spot on Wild Kingdom. Dr. Venkman says, trying to describe Dana's condition.
Man, you just know how to ruin.
Wow. You're just shoehorning quotes from the movie into this and ruining it.
Oh, is this all it took back then to get paid to do this?
You're acting like it's changed.
Yes. No. Yeah.
So far, there's little explanation as to what is negative about this movie. There's little explanation as to what they're saying any of the plot holes are whatsoever.
Right.
What makes this thin? What makes this unentertaining? Why it's not funny? Why we're not being told anything at all.
It's like a White House press briefing.
Yeah, exactly. It's
just left confused. And I heard things.
Yeah. It's one of those things that inspires medication. Like if someone's like, I'm not happy.
Inspires medication.
Yeah, because if someone's like, I'm not happy, and you're like, why? And you're like, I'm just not. It's like, why? I don't know. I'm just not. It's like, you might need to talk to someone. Maybe get some medication.
Yeah.
If you can say why, then maybe we can kind of work through this.
Man, that'd make my life easier if I could.
Yep. Agents of Reality, Ghostbusters. Oh, wait.
I accidentally. There we go.
Miss Weaver looks great and shows herself to be a willing comedian.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Uh-huh.
You're saying Sigourney Weaver's the source of comedy in this movie? Okay. As well as an excellent foil for Mr. Murray. But this is his movie, first and foremost. No, it's not.
It's not.
It's an ensemble cast.
Uh-huh.
He's in it.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand.
I get what you're trying to say, but it's
not.
Yeah, nice try, play again.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
No.
And it's another of the messy near-miss films in which he seems to specialize. Okay. Put Mr. Murray in any setting where order, tidiness, and rationality are taken seriously, and he becomes the consummate anarchic slob. That's enough to keep Ghostbusters going, like Stripes and Meatballs before it. But Mr. Murray, wait.
I thought you liked Murray. That was...
So did I. It sounds like what they're saying is that like he's becoming the nonsense that makes it so you can deal with the shit movie. Is how I was reading that.
Okay, I can see that.
You know what I mean?
That, yeah.
But which I understand. Like I get saying that, but it's saying that basically he's like, well, fuck this movie. I'm going to go my own direction, and that's the only reason that the movie even is good.
Okay.
Which I don't agree with. So I actually, it's funny. Stripes has Harold Ramis in it, and it's a really good movie. Meatballs is classic, but it's not. It's classic and for its time.
I get what you're saying. You know? Yeah.
But Mr. Murray would be even more welcome if his talents were used at the service of something genuinely witty and coherent rather than as an end in themselves.
So just repeating the exact same sentence.
Yes. I want to know how. So I didn't watch like original trailers and things of this.
Right.
But were they just beating into people's brains that this was going to be the funniest movie that they've ever seen?
I remember the trailers and it's spoopy.
I remember
it's supposed to be weird and spoopy.
I remember being told as a kid that I shouldn't watch it because it was scary and involved paranormal things and stuff.
Yeah. Although I was also not allowed to watch the live action TMNT. So
sure.
I'm not a good example.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to watch a lot of stuff. I ended up watching this anyway at a friend's house, but I remember being scared during a lot of it because I was a little kid. And I don't remember them just hitting you with a barrage of funniest movie you'll ever see in your entire life. Also, there's some ghosts.
Right.
But no, the comedy. I don't remember that happening at all.
I don't
know. It's a surprise to me that people are reacting like that.
Yeah.
Even with the new Ghostbusters that came out, how entirely funny they made it. And I think that they literally did that to appease everybody's memory of this movie that's not just a straight comedy.
Right. Now I want to know what's going to happen with the new one.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to if it's going to be
the trailer is very little comedy.
Right. The trailer's very little comedy and and honestly that's not really what they were doing. Yeah. A big thing is that comedy comes out of situations for sure. Comedy also comes out of characters, right?
Yes.
Those and wordplay and stuff like that. But when you're writing a script, that's where you want the comedy to come from. His, in the case of Bill Murray, who has some of the most comedic moments in the thing, obviously, right? He's funny.
This man has no dick.
Exactly. but see, that's the thing is that's only funny if that guy would say that.
Right.
Right. So it's not just a straight comedy because it's not like they're creating these outlandish characters that would say all these funny, hilarious things. They're creating characters who end up in situations that can be funny or will say things that can be funny. And everything is so obnoxiously absurd that there's a humor to it.
Right.
But everyone, here's the thing. When I was looking for reviews, everyone else got it. Everyone else immediately got it. This critic and then one other critic were like, I don't get it. Roger Ebert, Gene Siskel, everybody got
what it was.
They all got it. So
I don't know.
I don't know how you could even miss that.
People are dumb.
And now's the time of the show when we read fake facts about Ghostbusters. None of these are true. Or are they?
Slimer was voiced by Chevy Chase because he felt left out and wouldn't leave them alone until he got a part.
Columbia Pictures was sued on the grounds that the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man looked so similar to the Michelin Man that it hurt tire sales because he tried to destroy the city.
After Ghostbusters 2, Ernie Hudson, who played Winston Zeddemore, never acted again.
That's so mean. This has been Fake Facts about Ghostbusters. Well, poor Winston Zeddemore. Ernie Hudson's awesome. He's fantastic. It's very sad, actually, about him. He was supposed to have a significantly bigger part, and a lot of things got changed. He was supposed to be a part of the crew earlier in the movie.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. But now we're on to the part that all of us could do.
Yeah.
Write bad things on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yep. And so that we can read them. I'll start it out. Let's see what they're going to say. Here we go. Didn't find it funny, nor did I care about the characters. Also, not much ghost busting.
No, not at all. There was no ghost busting. except for the last third of the movie almost in its entirety.
not to
and the intro.
And the whole scene when they got hired and they're constantly ghostbusting in a montage of beauty.
Yeah. You know, the movie.
I would say a good 2/3 of that movie is ghostbusting.
Yeah. 2/3.
Yeah.
Yeah. I give it 2/3.
Because you said the last third, but then there's all the other stuff early on. Probably a good 2/3 of it.
Yeah. It's named appropriately, I might say. All right, next one is, what in the world were many of the original critics thinking when they reviewed this movie? This thing was horrible. Plus, it was simply stupid. Lame waste of time. Well,
I mean, when the original critics reviewed this movie, they got it. And but they also had never seen anything like it before.
Right. Yeah. Now,
there had literally never been anything like this. It was 1984.
Yeah.
Never been anything like it
if
before.
it came out in its form now, we just shit on it.
Unless it came out in its form now, like streaming, as just like a bonus.
Like some like YouTube thing or something.
Just stream it. Like even if like Netflix just threw out, if Netflix or Amazon or whatever threw up a movie like that, it would go the way of like Sharknado and
right.
But with better, it would be Sharknado with better acting. Like, you know what I mean? It would basically.
I don't know what you're talking about. Sharknado has the best acting ever.
I mean, as attracted as I am to Tara Reid, that is not very good acting. But that's what I think would happen. I think that it would have this amazing cult following. People would be like, this because at the heart of it, it's just a good, fun story.
Right.
So I think that people would connect to it. But you wouldn't be able to put it next to Endgame. And
I mean,
you can't.
You could.
I mean,
but that'd be like comparing The Matrix to Dark City.
Or Tom Cruise dating Katie Holmes. He's very short. Beyond the
next one.
Beyond the dynamite score / soundtrack, there really isn't very much to Ghostbusters. Sorry, guys, just not a very good movie. You may be the first person who didn't write a score to notice the score more than the movie ever. People will notice the soundtrack. I agree. Like they'll notice some needle drops and stuff in like a Quentin Tarantino movie, but it's very rare that people walk out and they're like, that movie sucked, but that score. Oof.
All right, what does Matthew have to say? Ghostbusters was apparently a classic, but when I saw Bill Murray's performance and hated yet another one of his movies, well, I think we found the problem.
Yeah. That's yep.
That'd be like convincing you to go watch something with Vin Diesel in it.
Yeah. Where he's not voicing something. That's fine.
Right.
I figured out very quickly that I don't like pickles on my sandwich. Didn't take long.
Yeah.
Stop putting them on there.
You might like Vin Diesel talking about Street Sharks. That's a thing.
I like Street Sharks.
He was very much into Street Sharks.
Street Sharks are cool, man.
And he went on like this 1.5 minute long like Pokemon explaining thing of all his Street Shark toys in a leather vest.
I'll watch Boiler Room. But I mean, he plays like a dick.
Right.
And it just works.
Yeah.
That's
fair.
But when he's trying to like spout out family to me and shit, it just doesn't fly.
All right, enough about Riddick.
Sexism and an attitude towards women, which is shocking.
Except not in 1984. And it's also really not that.
It's not true.
It's not.
So here's the thing: is that there are sexist things said to women, very much,
right,
in this movie, for sure. And there are two incredibly strong women who throw it right back in their faces.
I really thought of it that way.
They throw it right back in their faces through the whole fucking movie. They are not taking their shit.
Yeah.
That secretary is not taking your shit. Like that.
So sexist comments basically just got stomped on. And so it was probably intentionally written that way.
Yeah. He was, even though he was like lovable, Bill Murray, like every time he said something sexist, it was like there's a feeling of like, this guy's kind of being a dick.
Right.
He shouldn't be saying that. She's shunning him through very often. Like eventually, like he becomes sweet and helps her. Eventually it changes the tone or whatever, but it's really like, it actually is, in my opinion, a little progressive in the way things are occurring. Fair. Because they're strong.
Yeah. Is this one mine?
I believe so.
Insert generic 80s movie here. No shit.
This came out at the beginning of 1984. So there had been like not that many years of 80s movies yet.
Yeah.
So it wasn't generic at the time.
It is now.
Is it?
I don't know.
I would like to understand what makes this a generic 80s movie.
Don't ask me hard questions.
Compare this to another 80s movie. Show me another 80s movie that's like Ghostbusters.
All right, so Breakfast Club and Ghostbusters.
I'm not saying that there aren't movies that have similar pacing, or there aren't movies that have similar effects and comedy and whatever. I'm saying to call it generic would be really hard to do, because I can tell you generic 80s movies.
Fair.
For sure. Because there are definitely generic 80s movies. There's movies where it's like, oh, we're going on the ski trip, and there's the one guy who likes the girl, but she's dating the douchebag who's really good at skiing. How's he going to get the girl and make him look like a fool?
But he can't get his skis because he had to rent them and they were broken.
Yeah. I mean, if you want generic 80s movies, sure. But the typical generic 80s movie is not 4 guys become paranormal experts who kill ghosts and trap them and then try to save an entire city from a giant marshmallow man. Like there's nothing generic about that. It's like you can say the generic, like for the 90s, right? You can say the generic 90s teen sex comedy, and that is true. Yeah. You can definitely say that, but you can't say that Idle Hands is in that group.
I want to watch Idle Hands again. It's been a while.
It's similar.
Yeah.
But you can't call it generic, because it's literally about a dude who cuts his fucking hand off. Like there's a different thing. It's not, oh, he fucked a pie again. It's like the guy cuts his hand off, and it involves
at one point it ends up in the microwave.
Yeah, it's just
at one point it kills people.
He has 2 dead friends. Like it's a little, there's something different.
Fair.
So
I'll take that.
The generic happens. I'm not saying it doesn't. And it's fine with me that it does, but I think you're way off base on this one. Well, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. This is Critique the Critics podcast once again. We also do a vodcast. It's basically, we film this while we're doing it. So you can check out Boss Level 8 on YouTube. Either one. Wherever you happen to be, if you're listening on the podcast, we'd love it if you subscribed. If you're watching, like, comment, subscribe, do the stuff. Share with your friends. Tell everyone about it. And we really appreciate you guys listening and hanging out. If you have the ability to comment wherever you are listening, let us know movies that you would like to have us critique the critics on.
Because why not?
Why not? And until we see you guys next time, geek out and game on.
Bye.